Soju, literally translating to burned liquor, is Korea's most popular spirit. The clear, colorless beverage traditionally brewed from rice has experienced a boom in the US in recent years, thanks in part to the popularity of Korean entertainment like the Netflix series Squid Game and K-pop groups like BTS. Unlike Scotch or bourbon, there are no specific legal rules for producing soju, and there's no precise definition of what soju is or has to be. But if you want to order a traditional round, there are rules to how you drink it. So, what is it? And where can you find a glass? Well, today we're raising a glass to the history of soju, Korea's most popular liquor. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. After that, leave us a comment and let us know what other national spirits you'd like to hear about. Okay, time to do that soju that you do so well. Soju originated between the 13th and 14th centuries during the Mongol invasions of Korea. The Mongols introduced the distillation method arak, which they learned from the Persians, and adapted it for rice-based brews like soju, because when you move to a new place, you need to secure your booze hookup. This led to underground production controlled by women, who would brew small batches of soju for their households. The 1999 legalization of rice-based soju marked the return to more traditional methods, but by that time, fewer than a dozen traditional soju producers remained due to the dominance of industrial brewing. Traditional methods of whipping up a batch of soju can be labor-intensive and difficult to scale, making high-quality, mass-produced soju a challenging task. Some modern brands use a more consistent, industrialized fermentation method, with some incorporating Japanese methods for koji cultivation and others choosing to skip nurak entirely. However, purists argue whether this is truly soju because it is prepared so differently. Kind of how like a scrambled egg isn't a scrambled egg if you cook it over easy. Traditional soju is distilled from rice that has been fermented for about 15 days. The distillation process uses a sot and a soju gori, which is effectively a cauldron and a two-story distilling appliance. Honestly, all booze production should involve cauldrons and towers. In the 1920s, there were over 3,000 soju breweries across Korea, but in 1965, the grain management law came into effect due to rice shortages. The South Korean government prohibited traditional rice-based soju and introduced a diluted soju that was 30% alcohol. This new diluted version of soju was made from flavorless ethanol distilled from sweet potatoes, tapioca, wheat flour, and other starches and water. It is one of the only instances in which a person will willingly consume tapioca. Many breweries also mixed it with flavorings and sweeteners. Saccharin and aspartame were initially used as sweetener until it was replaced by stevia in the late 80s. The use of different starches created variations in both aroma and flavor. Soju was initially targeted towards a male demographic, especially in its higher ABV versions. But over time, as the alcohol content has lowered, soju is being targeted towards a younger, more general audience. Jinro Soju is the most famous and consumed brand of soju in South Korea, dating back to 1924. It is typically served chilled and neat, a bartending term which means wearing a little bow tie. I think is what that means. Jinro Soju has the highest sales globally, with 79.3 million cases sold in 2016, which helped it surpass other huge names in the liquor industry like Smirnoff and Jack Daniels. Soju overall, not just the stuff sold by Jinro, accounts for 98% of South Korea's liquor market. In other words, it's pretty much the only liquor anyone drinks. Soju is culturally important at many events. You can bet you'll see those green bottles lining the table at everything from christenings to birthdays to a third time's the charm engagement dinner. The brand Good Day even markets a line of their soju called Missing You, specifically for funerals. So you've learned what soju is and how it's made, but how do you drink it properly? Well, for starters, you have to make sure to open the bottle correctly, because there is a wrong way to do it. First, you swirl the bottle, creating a whirlpool to mix the sediment inside. Then, you slap the bottom of the bottle with your palm or elbow to loosen the sediment. Next, you jab or poke the neck of the bottle with the webbing between the index and middle fingers to splash some of the soju out. However, the big secret here is that there is no longer any sediment in most soju, but it's still the norm to perform this opening ritual. But we aren't done there. Drinking soju traditionally has just as many subtle rules. Soju is served chilled in shot glasses and is consumed in rounds, with everyone drinking together and the youngest person in the group pouring for their elders. This applies to both age and company hierarchy if you're out with coworkers. When pouring and when drinking, hold the bottle and the shot glass with both hands. But never pour your own drink. This is one situation in which you're supposed to wait for someone to do it for you. The first round you drink is a shot, then offer to refill someone's empty glass. No glass should be left empty when drinking soju. When someone pours you a drink, you must accept it. And if you pour for someone, they should pour for you in return. Instead of saying cheers, you can clink glasses and say ganbei, which literally translates to dry the glass, or san, an onomatopoeia of glasses clinking. And when you do this, you should avoid eye contact, which is polite in Korean culture. Remember, take that first round as a shot, then all the remaining rounds can be sipped. So, you know how to drink it. But what kind of soju are you buying? You've got some options depending on the vibe of your shindig. Chemisul, produced by Jinro, is the market leader in South Korea, accounting for half the nation's soju sales. They've reintroduced traditional packaging, with their Jinro is back in a sky blue bottle, showcasing a clean and neutral soju. There's Chemisul Fresh, a lighter, sweeter soju, and Chemisul Original, a stronger variant with an ABV between 17% to 20%, recognized by its iconic red cap. Chumcharam is a rival green bottle soju with a slightly sweeter taste than Chemisul. Toki White Soju is made for drinking neat, and Toki Black Soju is designed for cocktails. Seoul Night by the Han is made from ripened Asian golden plums, cold-filtered with a floral aroma and dry aftertaste. Damseol Pine Soju by Seoul Sangju is made from rice, pine needles, and spruce tea, offering a nuanced flavor with hints of juniper and sansho pepper spice. Samhae Soju is a prestigious brand that was once reserved for Korean aristocracy, and now it's recognized as intangible cultural heritage by the government. Its prestige is diminished only slightly when you add it to a glass of Monster energy drink. Soju comes in various types, catering to different tastes. Original soju has a classic, clean, and neutral taste. There are also flavored sojus, most commonly peach, apple, grape, and grapefruit, which typically have a lower ABV. Premium soju is made with higher quality ingredients and more traditional methods, also often with a higher ABV. Then there's also sparkling soju, similar to traditional soju, smooth but with an effervescent twist. If you're not one to drink liquor straight, then your next go-to to drink soju would be drinking somek, a combination of soju and mikju, the Korean word for beer. You can even enjoy dessert drinks. There's fruit soju, mixed with juices or purees. Yogurt sojus that combine a yogurt drink with soju and Sprite. Watermelon soju, a popular cocktail mixing fresh watermelon juice, soju, and Sprite. Malona soju, which includes a dang popsicle. And soju coffee, soju, brewed coffee, and sweetener served over ice. According to Maxwell Fine, co-founder of West 32 Soju in New York, the U.S. market for soju is booming, with sales showing a significant increase. He attributes the rise in interest to Korean pop culture. K-pop icons like IU, Naeun, and Lee Hyori have endorsed the drink, making it trendy and, dare we say, glamorous? The rise in soju's popularity can also be attributed to the boom in Korean barbecue and other Korean cuisine, with which soju is an effortless pair. Kyungmoon Kim, a master sommelier, says that the American market for artisanal soju began booming in the late 2010s. Kim, who once worked at Jungshik in New York City, explains that Michelin-starred restaurants could not pair high-quality tasting menus with cheap mass-produced soju, which is what inspired him to found KMS Imports to bring better quality soju to the US. Even in Korea, all fine dining establishments now serve artisanal soju. None of that convenience store stuff. Can you get soju at a convenience store? I think not. Brandon Hill became the first person to produce traditional soju outside of Korea, creating the band Toki, which has gained popularity in both New York and Seoul. Although there is some debate whether a truly traditional soju can be made by a white guy in Brooklyn. After all, the Mongols never made it all the way to the boroughs. Another American soju brand, Yobo, is a California-made soju made from distilled grapes and without nuruk, for people who want a more modern, drinkable soju to enjoy alongside Korean food. Meanwhile, the aforementioned West 32 Soju launched in 2016 and is less traditional in its ingredients, offering a more affordable soju made from corn and cane sugar. They aim to make a clean soju for a broad audience with a focus on why soju became popular in the first place, as an everyday drink for the everyman. Just try to remember how to open the bottle. So what do you think? Have you ever tried soju? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other weird history food videos.